Welcome to Taxidermy Truths, where we discuss the ins and outs of not only the taxidermy process, but the influences on the hunting community as a whole. With over 25 years in the wildlife and taxidermy industry, I host open conversations with artists, experts, and industry giants. From sustainable utilization to shipping rates, we dig into the reality of the experience after the safari and hear real stories worth remembering. Hi there, welcome to episode 2 of Taxidermy Truths. My name is Doug Cockcroft from Splitting Image Taxidermy. Today we're going to be discussing the value of the animal in the hunting value chain and the taxidermy value chain. I was recently on a game drive and got into a conversation with a couple about hunting and ethics, and ultimately it came down to a point that quite often people don't understand where the value lies in the animal because of hunting. Hunting is a very unique pastime in that the animal that's harvested holds incredible memories that are only going to be of value to the hunter and obviously anyone who's along on the experience. The beautiful thing about hunting is that if done responsibly, and I say that very carefully, if done responsibly, it is probably one of the greatest conservation tools that we as custodians of wildlife have to not only looking after the wildlife, but ensuring that the species that we hunt continue to prosper. Let's go back in time. Many, many years ago, when there were no fences, pioneers arrived at this incredible continent. They arrived in Africa, and it was wild animals everywhere. And, you know, we've all heard the stories about great migrations and massive herds of elephants and buffaloes and so on and so forth. The problem came in when humans came in and started to demarcate pieces of land and say, this is my land. And it's a world trend, let's call it. We all want to own our own piece of land. Many people have said to own a small piece of Africa it's like owning something where your soul came from. Africa is a very special place. The downside of owning a piece of land is we put up a fence to demarcate our land. Once you've demarcated the land, the natural migratory routes of animals are cut off. Now that they're cut off, they can't continue on their natural migratory paths, which takes them to new food sources, new water sources. So, we as the landowners, humans, we have now put ourselves into a unique position where we actually have to become the custodian and manager of the resource of wildlife. So imagine a rancher has a beautiful piece of land, good water, good grazing, and he's running cattle on this incredible piece of land. We all enjoy a good steak, jerky, milk, cheese, leather, whatever the byproduct of a cow is, we all enjoy it. The problem that you have is, if there was no value for that cow's byproducts, why would the farmer continue to farm them? Why would the rancher continue to ranch them? Because within that piece of land, his asset of grazing, water, and the land itself is not paying its way. Without an animal that is making use of it, obviously agricultural crops aside. But this being said, as long as there's a value for a cow, meat, cheese, milk, or otherwise, farmers continue to ranch them. They spend money on the infrastructure. They dose them, they treat them, they care for them. Because they know that they're going to get a return on the investment when that animal gets turned into a beautiful ribeye steak. And I love a ribeye steak. Wild animals are exactly the same. Whether the ranch is 400 acres or 150,000 acres. People are still the custodians of the wildlife within. And we need to retain a value in that animal. So where I mentioned all the uses of a cow, milk, cheese, leather, meat, and so on and so forth, where is the value in a wild animal? Meat? Absolutely. The stories of hunting operators throughout Africa that give away tons and tons of meat into local communities, impoverished communities, to help them with soup kitchens and feeding plans. The good work done by hunting outfitters in Africa is something that should be celebrated. But unfortunately, it often gets overshadowed by the fact that it comes from hunting. And there are hunters, non-hunters, and anti-hunters. The biggest pushback is not from the non-hunters, who are people that choose not to hunt because they don't necessarily want to or enjoy the pastime, but they do see the value in it and how it is protecting wildlife. It's the anti-hunting that are anti the movement that often don't have all the statistics, all the facts about why it is necessary to manage the resource. Because as I said, if the animal has no value, why would the farmer invest? Why would the rancher invest in taking care of these species? So we go back to the outfitter, donating meat, selling meat into industry. It's a huge industry, so there's some return. Hunters play a critical role because, as I said, only the hunter really understands the value of the experience. Where taxidermy comes into the story is simple. Taxidermy is a beautiful representation of that experience that the hunter is then able to admire and use to rekindle the memories and re-inspire future adventures, stories that they share with friends, loved ones. Even sitting quietly and reminiscing on your own about that wonderful experience that you had where you tracked an animal, you worked hard, an animal was hunted, so that's what it is, it's hunting. Animal was hunted, it was a clean kill, the animal wasn't stressed by being put into a queue in an abattoir. It was hunted in its natural environment. The animal that was hunted was old, beyond their breeding value. Essentially, they were not contributing to the spread of the genes of that species, and thus made them a perfect animal to hunt. Yet the hunter places value on that. So if an animal has value, the rancher spends money on maintaining infrastructure, staff, creating the experience around the hunt. I've heard some basic statistics. I am not certain on the exact numbers, and I would be interested in doing the study. But for every eco-tourist that comes into Africa, approximately 3 people are employed per eco-tourist. That is a photographic safari of sorts. For every hunting tourist that comes into Africa, approximately 18 people are employed to service that one hunter, from camp staff, hunting staff, meat preparation, taxidermy, exports of taxidermy, customs and clearing of that animal to final destination. Hunting employs a lot of people. So where does the value lie in that animal? It lies all over the place, because that animal is producing a product that has a knock-on for so many people and so many industries. At the ground root level, When there's a value for an animal, we as humans, we protect them. When there's a value for anything, a watch, a computer, anything, we look after it, or at least we should look after it. So as long as animals retain their value, ranchers will ranch and farmers will farm. And in Africa, communities will benefit from an ongoing process of nurturing the wildlife, creating returns from hunting that then get fed back into communities, build up areas, build schools, build butcheries for the local communities to feed from, soup kitchens, as well as the countless other jobs surrounding the hunt of that animal. This is one of the truths that we as hunters know. The non-hunters, they know this as well. However, the anti-hunters that cannot see past the fact that a wild animal is being hunted for reasons outside of their mental perspective. The anti-hunting group are against this. I don't disrespect someone who does not hunt, but I do question someone who hasn't thought the process through. Whether it's the glue that children use in schools that has animal product in it, whether it's that ribeye steak that you've bought from your local butchery or supermarket, the leather shoes, those custom, beautiful Italian leather shoes. All of these come from animals. The fact is, with hunting, these animals are sustainably sourced through hunting. That creates not only the final product as well as memories, but it creates so many valuable jobs that are needed in Africa. Animals have incredible value because of hunting. Taxidermy is a reminder of that value. It's a wonderful celebration of something that is truly beautiful. Myself, as an artist and a taxidermist of 25 years, I personally see the opportunity to do beautiful taxidermy as the ultimate way of showing respect for these incredible animals. And when people walk through the studios of Splitting Image Taxidermy, they look around and they're in awe of the animals around us. And we pass on the message and say, please, look after wildlife. Hunt it responsibly, hunt it ethically, because it will retain its value. The species will grow, and future generations will have the same privileges that I've had growing up in Africa. Privileges that, to coin the saying, are worth remembering, and privileges that I believe more people should get to know, walking across the fields and the plains in Africa, because only a hunter knows the value of the animal they're hunting. Thanks for spending time with me today. This is something I'm passionate about. Taxidermy Truths is here to share these stories, shed some light on some of the issues around the hunting and taxidermy industry, and answer questions. On that note, if you have any questions that you'd like us to address, any topics, please put it in the comments columns below, send it through to the team, and we'll happily schedule it for a future podcast episode. Thanks for joining me.